my name is V. I'm from Saigon, Vietnam, and right now I'm living in New York. I've been living in America for 5 years and in New York City for about 3 years. It just feels very exciting too. Like things are always going on. There's always noise, which sometimes now, if you've lived here long enough, sometimes you get annoyed. But then if you go away, you kind of miss that noise. When you don't live here and then you just come here for fun, it's a really different experience than when you actually live here and then day by like every day you have to commute using the train. I used to love taking the subway when I was living in Long Island, and like every subway ride is an experience for me. And when I start living here and then I have to go every day, it's it's not as romantic as it seems. When you moved here and you lived here and have to juggle like the everyday thing, life became a little bit less than a movie, right? I used to be able to just do what I want. Like if I have like an idea in my mind, I can like start working on it. But now with all the responsibilities, I'm not complaining about it, but you just gotta like push something behind to like focus on more like what's important in front of me, which is school, and then like just take care of like all the bills and stuff. COVID is a good restart for me. Like I can learn, like go to school on my own time with the remote learning. It's like a much needed rest, and then I start working on a project with a friend from college. We were both bored at the time and wanted to do something for like the downtime. So we imported some masks from Vietnam, and then we start like selling them to all of the delis around New York when COVID first started. So you didn't have much competition at that time. We were still able to sell it. So I went to like all of the parks around New York. I went to Union Square. I went to Washington Square Park. I went to Domino Park. I went to Dumbo. Like just places that people went outside to like get some fresh air, and then they'll like see me with a little mask stand. Current boss was actually one of the first customers who bought my mask out in the park, and then we kept in touch, and I started interning at this gallery, and it has become my full-time job. I never thought of myself as an artsy person. I was just like, oh, I like to do artsy stuff, but now I think, I just want my life to be artful, like not just your job or anything, but like how you design your life, or like how you, even if you write a note, like in your book, it gotta be artful. I just like things to be intentional. Like intentional is the word. Yeah, I think being exposed to the creative industry really inspired me to be more intentional in just everything I do. And not that I'm 100% intentional now with everything I do, right? But I start to sow that seed inside my head, and I help the company do social media and then newsletters, just e-commerce. When I first started working, it's like I feel really excited about this, right? But at the same time, I had to battle some of my insecurity coming from not an art background. Working in this place like opened my eye up to like many like different creative styles. I just like being surrounded by the creative energy. I think my look here right now is, I was always a pink girl and now I'm getting more into the color blue. I like that it's just like a little bit more calm. It represents me of today. It was before the US. I was out of high school. I got into a psychology program from University of Pedagogy of Ho Chi Minh City. I mean, I am interested in the topic of psychology, but I didn't find myself fitting in that academic environment. I've always loved fashion. I like dressing up. I like being able to express myself through clothes. So I started to find wholesaler in Saigon. At first I sell to all of my friends' circles, start going to all of the flea markets in Saigon, accumulate a good enough, amount of savings that at one point I feel like I need to study abroad. Like, okay, why not? I'm still young. I was 21 at that time, and then I decided, okay, let's study abroad, and then it will give me a new perspective for sure. Actually, it didn't turn out the way I wanted to. Life happens, and especially I wasn't planned for things properly enough, like far ahead, right? I had a savings, and I thought that would be enough for me moving into New York City and give me time to figure things out. But life here is a bit more challenging, and it kind of forces you to become more resilient at first, and it really push you out of your comfort zone. If you just keep thinking that you're not good enough and you're too small for everybody else, you won't be able to start something and do something. Know where you are, but also be confident and trust yourself. Trust yourself. I'm really excited to go home this Tết because I haven't experienced it since 2020, which is COVID. And for the last 2 years, I've spent my Lunar New Year here in this space where I work. And I had a lot of co-workers that are from Asia as well last year. So on the first day of the year, we just came in to work and then say Happy Lunar New Year to each other. I also brought some rice paper, bánh tráng from Vietnam. I know it's not like the traditional that item, but it still represents home. And then I share the rice paper to all of my co-workers and they loved it. One co-worker is from China and she tried the rice paper and she was obsessed. So I even gave her like a whole new bag and she just like ate it in one day, she told me. I think that to me is a feeling. It's like a feeling to be with people that you enjoy spending time with. And listen, lucky money. I didn't get any lucky money in the last 2 years, but I always called home and then my brother saved my portion of lucky money for me. For me, that is also gathering, gambling. I think gambling, đánh bài, is one thing that I miss the most about that at home. I do have addiction problem. Yeah, so I'm excited for this year to go home and really experience the gambling aspect of it using all of my lucky money. I think everywhere on earth, people always value family. And regardless of the culture that you're in, there's always a day that, like family is honored and you feel a bit more thankful about the life that you had with the people that you love. I'm planning to go home. Lunar New Year is going to be on the 21st this year, and my mom's birthday is going to be 1 week before that. So I'm actually gonna go home just 1 week before that. Actually, the most that you feel like is during the week before. Just like on the first day of New Year, that's when you know that it's over. That's how it feels for me, because it's the build up, like you anticipate. It's like, you count down the days and then it's so excited and everything just feel like the air just feel different those days. And on the first day of that, it's like, wow, you like party and have fun and enjoy, but then you also know that it's coming. It's also mean that it's going. Happy Lunar New Year 2023, Year of the Cat! Meow!
Hi, my name is Winn. I'm 28 years old. I came to New York in 2018 for my PhD degree in computer science. In the PhD program, that is, I do researching in machine learning. Probably you have heard of like artificial intelligence. I work in the natural language processing field. Besides that, I also have a lot of interest on another like tech hobbies. that is AR/VR, or AR and VR is short for augmented reality and virtual reality. Yeah, so I do like to spend time like designing like all of those like 3D elements and all of the interactions with AR VR. I used to imagine stuffs a lot, like kind of like sci-fi and kind of like hologram stuff. And I think that AR VR is my way to like realize them. It wasn't like a very like a great experience like from beginning to end. There were a lot of like bumps and a lot of like struggles, but I'm glad that I'm still be able to like enjoy and learn a lot from it. I got an internship offer from Meta, from Facebook Reality Lab, like in the NLP division, like natural language processing division. In a way, it is like a combination of my thesis work and my tech hobbies in AR/VR, which is great. I think like I have like a big love for dancing. Yeah, like hip hop dancing. My genre, I mean like my style, like dancer usually call it like hip hop choreography. I have been, I guess, dancing for about like 10 years now, since 2012. My love for dancing after watching the show like American Best Dance Crew on Yan TV in Vietnam, and I just fell in love with that. For some reason, I didn't know why, but I just when I saw it, I was like, oh my gosh, this is what I want to do. This is so cool, and I have been like dancing until now. And for me, dancing is a great way to help me balance in many aspects. So first, it is a way of exercise. Of course, like I don't go to the gym a lot. Yeah, I don't think that I love like hitting the gym, but when I dance, I can dance for like hours. I think that it is not easy to find like a Vietnamese or like a group of Vietnamese in New York, because I know that like there are a lot of Vietnamese like in California, but I don't think that there are that many as I thought it would be in New York. Probably because like New York is such like a big city and it's like very dense. So when I find like a Vietnamese friend here, I think that it is very nice. Sadly, for the first 2 years in the US, I guess because I was just like very busy with work, I didn't like really celebrate Tet. But for this year, now that I like living with my Vietnamese friends and housemates, probably we're gonna like make something fun. I guess it might be just like my personal experience, but I feel like people like expect you like a lot here in the US, and then you usually have to cross your limit. You have to like push your limit a lot when you are in the US, especially when you came like from Vietnam to the US. As the Vietnamese New Year is coming, I haven't been back to Vietnam actually since I came here like three and a half years ago. So I do really want to go back and visit my friends and family. For this Tet, I wish that all of my friends and family will be healthy. I just want you have your life back. Everything is normal and you celebrate Tet like any other like good years before that. So I just hope that this year it's gonna be better, both in terms of like work and probably romantic relationship too. It should be fun. Yeah, I just hope that I have more good luck this year.
My name's Daniel. I was born and raised in Thanh Hóa, Vietnam. I came to the US in 2009. I spent 5 years in Utah for college. I came to New York in 2014. Spent 7 years at PwC as a consultant, advising banks on regulations. I now work for Citibank in the Treasury Transformation Group, and I focus on leading transformational programs to enhance liquidity management and capital planning processes. When I was growing up in Vietnam, I grew up in one of the poorest provinces in Vietnam. When I thought of New York when I was a kid, it was never a place that felt real to me. I would sometimes see it on TV, and I would think, oh, biggest city in the world, that's cool. But I would never think that it would become my reality. I would live and work here. And just to think that I almost didn't choose to move to New York is kind of comical to me now, because when I was in college, I was searching for internships and I was applying to all the big four accounting firms, and I got a couple of offers in San Francisco, and that was sort of my city of choice at that time, because I grew up watching the show Charmed, and that show was very, very popular in Vietnam in the early 2000s. And the show was set in San Francisco. So it was sort of like my dream to live in San Francisco at that point. But the position that I was offered at PwC at the time was a little bit more specialized. They were paying me a little bit better. So I told myself that I would go to New York 2 to 3 years to get the experience and then go back to California. But then fast forward 10 years later, I'm living in New York City and I'm loving it. I don't think I'm going anywhere soon. I think my life before and after New York are very different. Now, every time I think back to my life back in Utah, I always almost hum the Adele lyrics from Hello. Did you ever get out of that town that nothing ever happens? I think moving to New York City, not only I embarked on my professional journey, but I also found a community of people that I really truly connect with and I felt like I belong to. In the past years living in New York, I've just been sort of making up for lost time in college, just really having a lot of fun, sometimes a little bit too much fun. After turning 30 last year, I sort of start realizing that anything material is replaceable, but memories and connections with people are not replaceable. So I've sort of made it very intentional this year to strengthen and enhance the relationships and connections with people that I treasure in my life. I think that's just something about Vietnamese people. No matter where we are or where we are from, we are always extremely proud of our heritage. Everybody that I've talked to that is Viet in the U.S. is extremely proud of who we are and where we came from, and to me that is very delightful. I haven't been able to really connect with the Vietnamese community in New York. I think that's just a little reservation because I think my journey to the US is probably dissimilar to most Vietnamese Americans. So I think that's a little bit of reservation for me in connecting with the Vietnamese community here. But I'm hoping to address that shortcoming this year. So I think I'm gonna preheat my oven to 420. Then slice the bacon. Cooking to me is very, very therapeutic. Whenever I feel stressed from work, from life, whatever, I just put on a recipe, and I think that just sort of take my mind off things and just really wind my brain down. That's sort of my escape of okay, let's just try to cook something. See how crispy it is. This just tastes like home. When I was in Vietnam, pho was actually not my favorite dish to eat. My favorite dish when I was in Vietnam was actually bún bò Huế. But I think coming to the US, pho almost becomes a beacon of home to me, of sort of a symbolism of reminds me of who I am and my heritage. So it just makes me feel very calm and soothing. New York is home. I live here, I work here, I have a circle of friends that I really truly care about and I would do anything for. But date is really the one time of the year that I sort of feel like it's not home. Um, and like I don't tell this to a lot of people, but I actually cry every year at date because every time that I would FaceTime my mom, and sort of I just see my family in the background, like I would see my grandparents, see my cousins bickering, see my aunts and uncles sort of gossiping and things like that. It just feels so close, yet so far, so familiar, yet so distant. And it always brings me to tears because it always sort of make me question my choice of moving to the US and like making a home out of home here in New York. And really that is sort of one occasion where New York doesn't really feel like home. And truly, I really just want to go home in those times. And I think that's why it's always usually bring me to tears because I'm just homesick, you know? To me, date is all about gathering with people that you love and eating and drinking food and drinks that you enjoy. For the first, I think, like 3 to 5 years in New York, like I didn't have a lot of Vietnamese friends, and most of my friends was of Chinese descent. So actually, for date and for Lunar New Year, making dumplings with my friends almost sort of became as much of a tradition for me as like eating bánh chưng. I always bring Vietnamese food to the table. I always like make my friends try it. I always bring a bánh chưng and like fry it up and like my friends would try it and they like it. I do try to wear áo dài and take a picture every year, and it's almost funny because when I was in Vietnam, like in the early 2000s, wearing áo dài was really not a thing, like for date at all. Because I think, like, I mean, people wear new clothes for date. In the past, I think 5 to 10 years, it's becoming a trend in Vietnam to wear áo dài, and I really, really enjoy that. I do want to write a cookbook someday. And I've been meaning to. Well, a couple of my friends have suggested essentially, promoting my recipes on social media, either through TikTok or either through creating a YouTube channel. And to be honest, working in finance, it doesn't spare me a lot of time to do that. But I think I do want to try to make a start on this year. Let's try to be a little bit more serious about it this year. I do try to do something that is Vietnamese for New Year. And last year I went over to Vietnamese friend's place for dinner. She made a lot of Vietnamese dishes that was very, very special. And also last year I went to the temple with my friend Quế. Went to sort of the Vietnamese temple in the Bronx. And the nuns gave me lì xì. That was really, really cute. That is, about welcoming spring and welcoming a new year. So I really, truly wish everybody a happy and adventurous New Year, and really chúc mừng năm mới.
Actually, to be honest, like in Vietnam, still I don't normally celebrate that much. So like, if you know me well, you will know that I'm the guy who hates all the celebration cakes. I am old. I wanted to pursue further education in screenwriting. So here I am studying at Stony Brook University, the Manhattan branch, with an MFA degree in film, especially like with a concentration in screenwriting. So my first impression about New York is like, I would say it's theatrical. Of course, that is the land of theaters, but like by theatrical, I mean like everything is so dramatic, so larger than life. Like, for example, like when you go on the subway, you go on the metro, and you see like the homeless people, they take the subway cars as if it was their catwalk. It's like attention please, here's my name, this is what I need, this is what you should give money to me. It's like like in a beauty contest, and then like all the contestants like say like, hi, I'm from Vietnam, Miss Vietnam, and you should vote for me because of this, because of that. So like I find a kind of similarity, and that's why I think it's so theatrical. New York and Saigon, they have certain commonalities like the fast pace, and also like the aggression when it comes to how people deal with things in life. I think, and also like one commonality is that because New York, like they have like 5 boroughs, and the same with Saigon, they have like different districts being known for different things. Like District 4 is like the district of gangsters, or like District 7 is like the district for the rich. So I think the same here, like certain areas are known for certain things. I think New York is like more rich in terms of demographic diversity, and also like that's why it's so elusive. It's so hard to kind of encapsulate New York in a few words. I think I did like suffer from a few moments of microaggression from American people. Like the first few days was hard for me to kind of get used to the people's attitude here. They were a bit like distant, don't give a shit about you. Like you feel a bit like worthless. As time went by, I think I got used to it. I get it. Yeah, I'm well adapted to it. I study screenwriting at Stony Brook University at the moment, and I just finished my first semester in a 3-year long program. The reason why I'm into filmmaking in the first place is I think, unlike other art form, the beauty of screenwriting or the filmmaking is in the collaboration process. So I like the metaphor that like a script is like not like a blueprint for the final film, but like an invitation for other creators to also like bring to the table their visions and help you like enhance the work. And why screenwriting? I think first and foremost, like there's a lack of like screenwriters, like professionally trained screenwriters in Vietnam, and also like the market in Vietnam like is currently like dominant by rom-coms. More than like 50% of movies made every year are just like rom-coms, and I want to diversify the genres. I want to explore like topics that are more marginalized or like more dark, and that's why I want to make a change in terms of screenwriting. It helps me put myself in different perspectives, put myself in different shoes of different characters, so I can learn more about life in general, and also learn more about myself, different parts of me, but like hidden or like unexplored. So I think that's like I find writing like a shelter during my hard time. In a screenwriting class, so the lecturer, he showed a movie, but with a very thick Irish accent, and I couldn't understand like 50% of the dialogue. And also like the same, I also like checked with my Asian classmates, and they told me the same. But like because we were so new and we were so afraid to voice out, and that's where I thought that I should do something about it. Do something about the feeling of being left out just because you're not like a native speaker. And that's why you cannot like listen to all the words and absorb all the words the way the native people do. So I still remember like 3 of us, like me, one Japanese girl and one Chinese girl. We came to the dean's office and we really talked to her about it, like about how it felt being an Asian student, not fully understand what's going on in the classroom. I proposed to her how about like from now on, every film being shown in class should have a subtitle going with it, so that there's a sense of inclusiveness in the classroom. And like contrary to our worry, she said yes immediately, and she even thanked us for raising voice about a matter that no international students ever did before. So I think that was a tiny victory for me. Like us as Asian students, I want us to be treated and perceived as equal to American fellows. So I think that was a memorable moment in school. The project that I'm proud of during my time in Vietnam, it was a series of children's books, and the name of it is Khác biệt mới tuyệt làm sao. So in English, we call it Together We Differ. So it's a series of 4 volume books that teach children to embrace individual differences and embrace diversity around them. So the way I did it was to portray 4 characters, 4 mythological characters with a twist or flaw. So for example, when it comes to appearance differences, there's a unicorn with a hammer for a horn. When it comes to ability, there's a dragon who spits milk tea instead of fire. When it comes to belief, there's a vampire who's crazy about carrot juice instead of blood. And when it comes to gender identity, there's a boy who wishes to be a fairy godmother. The reason why I kind of initiated that book was because I think in Vietnam in general, there's a lack of diversity education for children. And luckily, the book series they won a national award for children's literature recently. The topic is diversity, and I also wanted the form of writing also reflects diversity, and that's why I choose for 4 volumes. I chose 4 different types of poems. There's a sense of diversity in terms of writing as well, and also the books were illustrated by 4 different illustrators. So there's also diversity in terms of visual. I'm so excited to go back to school for the spring semester because I'm going to direct a short film that I wrote in the first semester, and it's gonna be a piece a science fictional piece about a guy with a rare disease related to voice. So I want to explore that, especially it speaks to me because when I first came here, I found the language barrier something that kind of stopped me from engaging with the native people, all the other American classmates for a while. And that's why I wrote this piece. And it doesn't reflect literally what I felt, but on a metaphorical level, it is. And I'm so excited to realize this piece because I think it also represents my writing voice in a way that there's a sense of dystopian word for the character, but also there's a touch of dark humor in there. A lot of people has asked me how it feels like being a Vietnamese in America, but I myself barely question my own identity since I came here, and it's weird. I have no question whatsoever about the complexity of being Vietnamese in America, the country that was at war with my own country. So I don't have any question like that, and I think that's just me. I cannot speak for anyone else, but that's just me. So this is the first year ever I've been away from home during Tet holiday, and I will be away from home 2 more years. Want to come back during my time here. And actually, to be honest, in Vietnam, still I don't normally celebrate Tet that much. So if you know me well, you will know I'm the guy who hates all the celebration cakes. I don't eat moon cakes or bánh chưng, the sticky rice cake, or even birthday cake. I'm not a fan of birthday cakes either. So whenever it comes to cakes that serve celebrations, I'm not a big fan. So I feel a bit left out when it comes to food during Tet because I don't eat bánh chưng. And this weekend, I'm going to have a photo shoot session wearing the áo dài, the traditional Vietnamese costume in Times Square. And I think that's Like, although not something fancy, but that's like how I celebrate Tet with my Vietnamese friends here. I don't know since when, but I no longer wait for that or like be eager for that like I used to do when I was a child. So now I refer to that just like as a long break, and I also think that is a good opportunity for us to like reflect on who the important people in our lives are. So like literally like who we meet during TED are the important people. And also, I think like TED is also an interesting occasion for us to observe the clash of generations. You know, like all the obnoxious questions coming from your relatives, expectations of home cleaning and religious rituals. There's a lot of, like disagreements and arguments when it comes to those expectations between the older generation and the younger generation who are like more carefree and less. But that's an interesting clash. And I think like that is the occasion that those differences kind of emerge and like, like stand out the most. As that is coming, I have two wishes for everyone. So the first one is, so imagine like the coronaviruses, they are writing their own history books at the moment. And I wish this is the last chapter of their books. So that's first, because like, the pandemic, like I'm lucky I'm not like strongly or like heavily affected by the pandemic, but I think like people out there, especially like my relatives and my family, are still suffering from it a lot. Back in Vietnam and also like people here in the US, especially in the entertainment industry. The second wish is I wish everyone would be more open-minded to differences and like diversity all around us.
Hi, my name is Fu. I'm from Saigon. So I moved to America 12 years ago, and I moved to New York 2 weeks ago. I realized New York has almost everything you can imagine, like from the mountain, the lakes, the change of seasons, snow, hot, heat, whatever you imagine exists here in New York State. And then I moved all the way to Buffalo, where I experienced most of the snow and the cold. I do architecture for my grad school, a little of philosophy for my undergrad. Yeah, Buffalo was nice. It's make me feel like home for after almost a decade. I study in philosophy, and then I moved toward to architecture for my grad school during the pandemic, which was interesting. New York is vibrant compared to Buffalo. Buffalo is more of they still have their vibrant scenes, but in terms of inclusiveness, I think New York City is still top the world. Most of the time, because my mom visit America, and every time she comes, she has to be in New York for at least a week. Yeah, she's a big romantic fan of New York. She romanticized New York, like most of the time in Love Story or The Godfather was the big thing for her. Well, I think I got inspired, infused her idea a lot from walking New York street. She knows the building, she knows the difference between New Yorkers. The one from Manhattan, the one from Brooklyn, the one from Long Island. There was one time so funny of how she recognized the people who say the word coffee. I think it's a big thing for New Yorker of saying coffee. And like anywhere else they say like coffee. There's a New York accent that I didn't know until recent. The subway, my big struggle. I got lost like most of the time. There's a long list that I want to achieve. Especially like when I do architecture, most of the time we reference buildings in New York City. It's an interesting thing to look at the building that you study and in real life. It's like you watch celebrity on TV and then you actually meet them in real life. No, it's not the same. Like your expectation is tilted a little, but most of the time they're exciting. Well, I saw rats the other day. The rat is iconic. If you go to New York City and you don't see rat on subway, you're missing out. I'm still at the stage where I'm going to fail a lot. I'm going to achieve some, but I feel like if I fail ever, I have to fail in New York. At least like I fail in New York City is comfort to know that I fail in the biggest city in the world. But then in terms of future, of course we all look for like bright futures, like achieving. I have a few goals I want to achieve, but if life throw me lessons in New York, I still take it. I mean, if I have to cry on the subway, it's more romantic than, crying in my own car somewhere else in America. In New York, I have a cousin. I kind of idolize him. He's good at what he does. He's respect and like responsible with his own work, with people around him and stuff. And we grow up together, so I feel like being close with him was also comforting. I came to New York during Thanksgiving and we walked through Brooklyn and through Dumbo. He was showing me the bridge, the Manhattan Bridge, the Brooklyn Bridge, the middle area, and I just like start manifesting like, oh, it's nice. Walk around the neighborhood, look at the buildings, read the name. It just like stick in my head. I'm like, oh, I hope I can like experience like living here. Maybe just being a tourist, like living in Dumbo for like a few days just to experience. And then a week later, I got an offer with an office in Dumbo. Like on the street that we actually had coffee and we walk around and we look at the water and I'm like, manifesting is true. It's real. It's not a joke. I was really thrilled to like get the offer and I didn't know what to do because I didn't pack. I was not ready. I thought like I will get any answer after New Year in like 2023. But I ended 2022 with a big move. So now I can start 23 with different goals and different plan out than like before grad school. I don't know why I always prepare to fail. I started out my candle business thinking I couldn't get into grad school. And then I got into grad school and then the candle thing is going fine, so I keep being with it until now. And now since I moved to New York, I think I have more exposure to the local market, the art scene, like the business scene in New York. Of course, like it's a big demand here in terms of gifts and candles, and yeah, having exposure, like more exposure for my candle is on my checklist for a long term. But for 2023, start to putting down, like I probably have to go door to door, knock on them and advertise my candle, because there's a lot of gift shop about Dumbo. I do see my candle standing there, like being on that shelf on the manifesting. Like, every day I go to work, I'm like, my candle can be there, this scene can be here, like in different store. I believe my society still think there are stuff that women should do, should say, and should not do and should not say. But the boundaries start to break now. The country start to be more inclusive. I have not a good sense, but I have a sense of dirty joke that is forbidden or like things I shouldn't say and stuff. So my candle is more about the drinks, the forbidden time. It's inspired by the 20s when like alcohols are blocked, and it's just the same feeling that I see the history repeated, but like with younger people, they start to break boundaries. So I wanted to start out with a product that can like be fun, a little sensual, a little partying, but also not bad influence. And then I just gather a lot of scented that replicate cocktails, which I love. And I start naming them with different sex position. Throughout the process, I want to produce a candle from zero to the end of the product. So with this one, I pour into a mold and then like create the jar first and then wait for them to dry and unpack them, everything, and then pour the candle on it. It's an ecosystem that I want to maintain because it's less waste. Like you can actually reuse this. I want to develop more on the how to refill a candle and like reuse the jars. It's more of environment awareness that I move toward to. Like from the packaging with less plastic, and those are my goal. My big goal in 2023 is to be more environmental, like mindful toward the product and toward my lifestyle too. Like use less plastic, use more of recycling. And these look like it was a broken bowl, which is for me it's aesthetic. I like stuff that look half broken. I like people who are broken. They look more deep. They're like, I don't know, there's something about them really attractive, and I think this ball is the same thing, like perfect broken ball. Well, I've been in America for over a decade, but my Lunar New Year is still remain the ones that happened before I moved here. So they say Lunar New Year is start from the first, second, and third day, but usually Tet started a week before. That's when you see the air. It is in the air, it's in the atmosphere, it's the smell. Mostly like Christmas here. People rush out of work, go get gift and stuff for the people around them, and they go deliver their stuff. So the people have it right on the day of New Year. When my grandma was still alive, she make bánh tét, and her bánh tét is this big, and like her bánh tét basically like half my size. And when I like went to store and the bánh tét is like this big, and I'm like, well, she usually have a backyard, and then she have some of my uncle gonna dig down the hole, and we actually put like wood down and put the big pot. Well, that pot's half my size too. And then she started cooking bánh tét for, I think for that you're supposed to cook overnight. So she started wrapping everything in one day with help from my aunts and uncles, and then it's cooked overnight. So we actually have sleepover in the backyard. So we just like lay everyone, like me and my other cousins, like lay there. Of course we sleep, but most of the adults just stay awake and just have to refill the water. The bánh tét is cooked throughout the night. And then the drying process, like you just take it out, dry it, wait for it to cool. My mom take me everywhere with her, go get flowers, food, sweet, send gift, receive gift. You pray once in a while, you pray to ông Táo, and then you pray to have your ancestor back home. It just happened in a few days, but then after that you just feel really like empty after. When the midnight start, the fireworks go up and you're like, that's it, New Year. And then the next 3 days, my job is always to go get lucky money. Well, there are some Tết that I felt really sad. I don't know, it depends on the weather. When it's too snowing outside, I just feel sad, turn off my computer, go to sleep it off until like, Tết is over and you wake up. But other than that, I turn on like Vietnamese YouTube, you see the fireworks, you call your family, say Happy New Year to your family. Yeah. This year, I'm going to have my first Tết in New York City. I'm probably gonna like walk around Chinatown or Flushing area just to see the rush of Tet, like how people are so worried but so excited at the same time. I'm pretty sure it's a mutual feeling with people catching subway, but it's just different for us with the anxiety and the excitement like crushing at the same time. Happy New Year! I hope, well, if you have resolution, I hope you tick them off. But if you don't, I hope you're still happy with what you're doing. Chúc mừng năm mới!
That, as known as Lunar New Year, is the time to review old year and get ready for the new year. I hope in this upcoming new year, Vietnamese community will grow bigger, stronger. I hope to hear more Vietnamese stories, more Vietnamese voices to be heard. Vietnamese culture will be more represented, not only in New York, but also in US and all around the world. Happy New Year to everyone. Chúc mừng năm mới.